two, one.
Hi, good night, everybody. My name is Pastor Roger Kisto of the Lord Cry. I'm sure you didn't hear that. My name is Pastor Roger Kisto of the Lord Cry team. And tonight I'm just going to do a short, raw, and uncut. No special effects, no special cameras or special lighting. We're just using a simple iPhone. But I think it's time for the church to speak on these issues that are coming against us. And they are coming against us so very fast that we really do not know what is going to hit us. I'm going to look at the idea, this old philosophy called gradualism. In communism, it was used and it was perfect to bring the people around to that. It's like the old adage about the frog who was just, the temperature of the water was just changing and he did not even know until he died, and that's what's happening to us. And my concern more so is really the church. You know, the church has been absolutely silent. My Seventh-day Adventist brethren, ministers, they sit and they just wait for directions from central command, what we know as the General Conference, and then they move. They shut down everything. And in the first wave of the coronavirus, we were shut down and we worked with it. They opened back up, and of course we expected a second wave. We got the second wave, and here we are today. They shut down. There seems to be an unlicensed type of lawmaking, one, and then the church more so is very, very silent, very compliant. And I'm not saying that we are supposed to be a sortum or we unnecessarily do things. For example, I'm going to come back to the mass, so let me hold that for a while. All right, so Mrs. White said in the book Great Controversy, and I'm quoting, just paraphrasing on page 670, she says, Satan is the chief of conspiracy, the chief of conspiracies. So therefore we know that all this that's happening now is part of a great plan. And then on page 589, let me just look for that statement for us, just to give us some perspective. She says, he imparts to the air a deadly taint, and thousands perish by the pestilence, and these visitations are to become more and more frequent and disastrous. So if that is the case, and we have this pandemic, it's going on since December 2019, and we are at this stage where we are complying. They say to jump, we jump. They say to sit down, we sit down. And the church, the Protestant church, that has volumes to reference, we seem to be very, very silent on this. And this thing is confusing. And let me make a disclaimer. I'm not saying at all that we are to do like what's happening in Germany now. There's an anti-coronavirus march going on in Germany. And other parts of the world, people are having sit-downs and having protests and so on because of this. The answer is not there, because we could comply and still show that we have a voice and we do not agree, and not just sit in silence, sit on your hands and wait on things to happen, because it is gradually going to come over us in the big crisis that is just before us. I just want to read a couple of things that seem to my simple mind confusing. Now on the WHO, their fact page, they have a page that is named Mythbuster. I'm just going to read a couple of things that they said. They said thermal scanners. You know, when you go to any government office or any building, they are required to have these thermal scanners. They hit you on your head or in your palm. But they are saying thermal scanners are effective in the, or rather, let me read on this side. It says thermal scanners cannot detect COVID-19. So to start with, you have people who are not professionals, have the scanner in their hands. Are they just checking for fever? Could you have a low temperature and so, you know, so it is confusing. There's another one that I saw on the fact page, and this one is interesting. It says there are currently no drugs licensed, that's the word, licensed for treatment or prevention of COVID-19. What does that mean? What does that language mean? Does it mean, or could it mean that there could be drugs, but because it's not licensed, approved, authenticated by the so-called big pharma companies? So these are the conspiracies that we are working with. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, because I believe that there is something happening. Now, coming to our situation here in Trinidad and Tobago, on August 30th, they quickly, probably in the late hours of the night, they made this legal notice. And I'm going to read some parts of it dealing with the idea of face masks. It was said before, rumored before, that they're going to make this thing legitimate and legal. Everybody is to wear face masks. Now remember, we're dealing with conditioning, so that when big crisis comes, we would, through gradualism, go into it. Let me just give you the definition for gradualism, by the way. Gradualism is the principle or policy of achieving some goal by gradual steps rather than by drastic change. Together, by gradual steps as opposed to drastic change. So if they came out on day one and said no masks, people would revolt, but they're gradually coming into it. The fear of the media is, they all say the same thing. They are controlled by the mega companies, companies that has all the money. Media is controlled, so they pump fear into us, and it's a whole circuit of evil that we are involved in. So I'm going to the legal notice. Yes, before I lose my focus, I want to look at the legal notice that was put up by the Ministry of Health in conjunction with the Attorney General and so on. It says, for example, failure to wear a mask in a vehicle, $1,000. Failure to ensure a child wears a mask in a vehicle, $1,000. Failure to wear a mask in public, $1,000. And another $1,000, failure to ensure a child wears a mask in public. Now, there was a lot of clarification on many of the issues, but at the end of it, we see how quickly a law could go into effect. One, there is total agreement with the opposition and the ruling party on this issue. Normally, they don't agree on any two things. There was quick agreement, and the public, for the most part, based on fear of being charged or fear of getting the disease, they are pushing it through. Our church has, out of many of the promises, one which says, none of these diseases shall come upon you. I'm not saying that we should go into the public without masks, but what I'm saying is, instead of pushing the mask as your protector, we have the laws of health, the New Start experience that could put us in a place where our bodies, our minds could be healthy, because Christ has promised none of these things will come upon us. So let's go now to where I really want to spend a minute looking at. We have a crisis coming called the Mark of the Beast crisis. And I was speaking to a brother online a while ago, and we were saying this will be so different than what we envision it to be. We read in Revelation 13 that great changes are coming. We read in Revelation 12 that changes are going to come. We know topically that what will happen. You would have the introduction of a buy and sell decree, introduction of the mark of the beast. But is it going to be so simple? Is it going to be so simple? Remember, the church and state will join together. In other words, to keep the Sabbath, which is central to the mark of the beast crisis, is to go against not just the law of God. In that time, it will be a state law. Are we together, people? It will be a state law. It will be an international law. If the church will have such control of the state that the state will pass laws based upon the strength of the church and the strength of its machinery. So if we are not at this point protesting, showing that something is wrong, gradualism is coming in, we are like that frog that is in that water that is getting warm and then hot and then it eventually dies, we will be there. So my Seventh-day Adventist friends, wherever you are, share this video, because we are going into a crisis. Great changes are going to come. We are going into a mark of the beast crisis. It is not going to be a walk into a thing and you will be hit with the 666, or you will say that I'm keeping the Sabbath. It will be so gradual. Our conditioning with this trial run here of this COVID-19, because there is really no empirical evidence that will tell me that a mask could really protect you. Wearing this after a while with all your droplets hitting on the inside, it becomes foul. Not everybody has the ability to wash it or to have another one on hand, or to, these are the things that we are working with. The other ones, you could only wear it once a day and it's a pretty penny for it. But the whole of the country, as of today, are masked up. And nobody is questioning that. And worst of all, the church of God, that is the voice of God, is very, very silent on this. So again, I just want to thank you for viewing with me. I'm going to speak more about this as we go on. But as for me and my house, well, I'm saying for me and my house, but for me, because everybody has their individual position on it, I am very, very wary of it. I'm looking at it closely. I'm not going to fall for all this pandering and so on that they are making, because I believe that this is a gradualism tool to get us to the place where we will not understand the issues, and then we will say, as it was said of Christ, it is better that one man suffer than a whole world perish. And finally, we have to look at what are the effects of this. If you walk into a store or an establishment without your mask tomorrow, the police doesn't even need to come. The people will deal with you, because you'll become a threat to a group of people. You'll be looked at as selfish and so on. And that is exactly what is going to happen with the mark of the beast crisis. So may God bless us as we continue to look at this issue. God has allowed it. It has not stopped fellowship nor worship, but it is going to interfere with our thinking if we are not in the Word of God. My name is Pastor Roger Christopher, the Loud Cry team. God bless you real good. This has been a raw and uncut video.